Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been a tough start. We had a political scandal at the end of last year that's still burning fast. On the first, we had the quake in Ishkaken, and on the second, this airline crash. So it's been a bumpy start to the new year with news from the Fed's moving against what I expect is likely to be the trend for the full year. I would have thought for the full year what we're going to get is last year it was the value stocks did well on rising rates. As rates start to fall globally, I would have thought that growth stocks will be the place to be through this year. That's been the case since the end of September. It'll continue to be this year, but they moved back in the opposite direction today because of the comments from the Fed.
Now, the Nikkei was the best performing market in 2023, advancing 28%. With the recent developments over the last couple of days, do you think that investor sentiment is going to be taking a hit, particularly the travel and tourism recovery as well?
Well, I don't think the story for Japan for the coming years is expected to be travel and tourism by anybody. That was the story for last year. We got a lot of cushioning for the economy from that source. But I think during this year, I think we're sitting in a market that's reasonably cheap. So as the world starts to move more towards growth stocks, Japan's one of those places where we've got growth stocks that aren't ridiculously expensive. So I think we've got a number of decent stories. We've also got the likelihood of the Bank of Japan ending this crazy period of money being cheaper than free, and that's going to have a lot of effect in the market as well.
Can we get your take on the JPY? Are you short the yen? Do you expect the end to negative rates in 2024?
I would have thought that negative rates will be done by the end of April, quite possibly a lot earlier than that. I think the likelihood is that the expectation is that rates come down a bit in the US, go up a bit in Japan, and the obvious result is a yen that's a bit stronger. I think a lot of people, the macro tourists, think that Japan needs a weak yen to make money. And so I think they're going to feel quite a lot of pain this year as Japan makes decent money and the yen strengthens as well. So I think we're going to get the pain trade for the macro tourists who've never really quite understood how that currency works. But I think we'll be at 135 mid-year and end the year at around 130.
As we look at policy, there has also been some suggestion in some parts that Kishida could call early elections, which are slated for as late as October 2025. Do you see him doing that?
Well, if he wants to commit suicide, that's one possibility. But and obviously the support rate for him, the polls vary between about 17% and a bit under 30%. But he is about as unpopular. He's the least popular prime minister since the return of the LDP in 2012. So I think it's just a question of when he disappears. I think there's a likelihood of the LDP using him as the sin eater for the first half of the year Parliament session. So pushing through some tough policies that won't be good for his reputation, but his reputation's in tatters anyway. I mean, obviously, we're going to need an election reasonably soon. And it makes no sense to go into election with the Prime Minister that we have at the moment. So it's a question of who replaces him and whether they can get a honeymoon period that makes support high enough to win an election. But if they held it now, they'd lose a lot of seats.